Our world is not two-dimensional. Every visible object is a three-dimensional object inhabiting a three-dimensional space. And I'm not saying this from a scientific point of view, but more from a simple, practical point of view. So I ask, why bother learning how to draw in 2D when you can draw three-dimensional pieces with simple techniques like the one I'm going to show you today? The box.
Many times when you look at a piece of paper, you can see that it looks like a two-dimensional object. Seen from the top, it has width and height. But even a piece of paper is not two-dimensional. When you see it from one side, you can see that it has some width, some height, and depth, even when the height is not too much seen from this angle. Even if you forget about its height, just the fact of being one object in a three-dimensional space makes it look three-dimensional. Look how from this angle it just vanishes and it goes to a vanishing point. For most people, drawing a three-dimensional picture means drawing in perspective using two-point perspectives. And this is a process that they don't want to do, or they don't know how to do, or that is very complicated for them. Even though you can get great results. For using this technique, it is useful to know how to draw three-dimensional shapes and also possibly shading, but it's not absolutely necessary. But if you want a video about this topic, you can comment in the comment section below. The whole process starts by drawing two lines that are not perpendicular with a completely horizontal line. Both lines are diagonal. These lines are going to represent a two-point perspective, but we're not going to be attached to this idea. The intersection of these two lines is the center of the box. So we're going to draw three vertical lines in which the one in the middle is the corner of the box. Make sure that the other two are a bit shorter than this one, but also a little bit higher. And also make sure that all the lines in the front of the box are longer than the lines in the back. It is also important to find the center of all the sides of the box. Remember that the side of each face that is closer to us is going to be bigger than the one that is farther, because of the perspective. These are other versions of the box. You can find the PNG file of these three boxes in the description of this video. Very conveniently, I drew the lines in the front of the box with red and the lines in the back of the box with blue. We're going to start drawing a simple round object, which is going to be basically an oval in perspective with some limbs. So I'm finding all the other sides of the shape. And then I simply join them to form an oval. A nice oval in perspective. To keep it in mind, I'm also drawing the front, the top, and the side planes of this oval, which I will shade as three separate planes. And then by blending the spaces in between, I get a 3D oval. Now to draw my creature, I'm going to draw two ovals in the sides for the limbs. I'm going to draw some spines right in the center and the tail. Here it's important to notice how the other limbs or the tail go in the other side or in the back of the creature. So I drew some guidelines for them. As I'm drawing all the parts in this creature, I make sure that I'm overlapping the different parts. Overlapping is another great way to show depth in your picture. Guidelines are also important in the eyes to make sure that they go exactly at the same height. I also drew some spines in the side to reinforce the roundness of the creature. As I color the picture, I make sure that I follow the same principles as if I was coloring a cube. A lighter top, a medium color front, and a darker side. And I reinforce this through all the piece, even in the limbs and in the spines. To finish this picture a little extra, you can add different textures. In here I'm using scales, and you're going to set them to overlay. You can lower the transparency, you can blur or smudge some parts, and you can even draw on top of them to add some different extra texture. I'm using the same ideas for the next picture, but in this case I'm making sure that I'm including the legs that are going to support the body. And I draw the body as a rounded rectangular prism. I'll draw later another box for the head, some semicircles for the ears. As I draw the picture, I make sure that all of the shapes have a kind of three-dimensional representation. When shading, I make sure that I follow the same rules. Lighter top, medium front, and darker side. I also make sure to include some projected shadows under the head, inside the ears, and basically everywhere where two shapes are colliding. And of course, I'm including a shadow under the bunny. That shadow is very important to position it on the space. Now that you know the basics, you can start playing with the shapes in different ways.
So to summarize, you can use the box and overlapping to bring an extra dimension to your pictures. If you like this technique, I invite you to use it, and if you do, I invite you to upload your picture to Instagram under the hashtag TheBoxWiseGoose. See you in the next video. Bye!